Hello everyone, my name is Selen Erkan. I'm an associate professor at the Center for Deliberative Democracy and Global Governance here at the University of Canberra. And today we have John Dryzek and André Bächtiger with us as part of our book drop series, season 2, episode 2. So André is visiting us from the University of Stuttgart, Germany. He's a professor of political theory and empirical democracy research there. And John Dryzek is a centenary professor at the University of Canberra, as well as he's an Australian Research Council laureate fellow. So we wanted to take this opportunity while André is here and to talk a little bit more about the recent book John and André put together with Jane Mansbridge and Mark Warren, the handbook, the Oxford Handbook of Deliberative Democracy. So I don't know how to start. Maybe I go in alphabetical order as here. So André, maybe is starting with you. So what does this book mean to you? How did the idea come to put together a book, this very big project? I understand that it's a roof for more than 100 authors and there are 58 chapters in it. It's multidisciplinary. It's a very large global project. What does this project mean for you?
Well, I start a bit how it came about, because at some point when I was in Canberra, John said, we need to do a handbook. It's about time, because we are a field and we have to show it to the world. And I think that's what the handbook actually does. It shows to the world the various practices, the various approaches to deliberative democracy from various fields. So it assembles a lot of knowledge and takes really stock of what we know now about deliberative democracy.
And for you, John?
Yeah. André is not just first in alphabetical order. He is the prime mover on all this, and certainly the one who has done most to bring this handbook to fruition. So he is the first editor, and not just in alphabetical order. I think initially I did see the handbook as a way of validating the field of deliberative democracy. We have a big Oxford handbook, not like many other fields now, but I think it's also served just for me. It's been just a very instructive process. In putting it together, I learned a huge amount by reading what the various contributors had to say, and just finding out just exactly what the breadth of the field is now, and just how many different disciplines and areas of study and practice in different parts of the world into which the field now reaches. And so I hope it performs a useful function for anyone who's in the field, for PhD students, beginning PhD students, for example, who want to know what the field is about. We just show them the handbook.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's a great resource for the PhD students and other early career researchers as well, because there are lots of people who would like to do further research in deliberative democracy, but need a little bit more guidance in terms of what are the gaps in this area, how can I take this theory and apply in my own specific country or in my own specific policy areas. So I want to also ask you some questions. Like I was talking also previously with André, that how the book was enriching in terms of his own knowledge on theory and practice of deliberative democracy. And for me, one thing that you share in common is that you're both political theorists, but you want deliberative democracy also to inform political practice. And so where do we take these theoretical insights? How can we make use of deliberative democracy when we think of reform ideas, when we think of addressing the contemporary problems of democracy, however you define them? So how can we bring deliberative democracy to solution proposals when addressing the problems of democracy?
I can give you a wonderful example. Ireland was a process where there was some demand for organizing a mini public, and then the organizers said, yeah, but there is a lot of knowledge out there, theoretically, empirically. Let's sit together and talk about how we can optimally organize these things. And there I think all the knowledge that we have produced came into fruition. For instance, there was this idea, well, very often these mini publics don't scale up. How can we create better links to politicians? And then came the idea, we need a sort of a co-government scheme. But then the immediate question was, but that doesn't work. You cannot place politicians next to citizens. That will be a disaster. And then came up this idea from people who have thought about enclaves and said, yeah, but why don't we first organize an enclave of citizens? They should feel comfortable and talk about with each other. And that's exactly how it worked, because then the citizens found out there are excellent citizen spokespersons. And confronting the politicians, the spokespersons spoke up for the group. So I think in some ways all the knowledge that we have built, theoretically, empirical, can be brought directly into practice. And we can still keep the link to theory as well.
And for you, John?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think the Irish case is indeed exemplary in terms of the integration of political theory, empirical research, and then practice. But in a way, it's symbolic of the field as a whole. That as a field, I think we don't just do this in the context of individual pieces of process design, like the Irish Constitutional Convention and then Citizens Assembly. I think we do it well when we're at our best. We do it as a field, and I think that is very unusual and really very distinctive about the field of deliberative democracy. In fact, I can't really think of any other field in association with political science that does quite the same.
So are you planning to do any work, or are you writing any other articles in this kind of space, bringing deliberative theory in communication with the contemporary problems of democracy?
Yes, we absolutely want to do that. So we want to do a book out of our science article, exactly saying we need a book which is, let's say, maybe more condensed than the handbook, really in some way speaking to a world outside there, where we say we have problems but we also have answers, and we have to put these answers into a language that people outside deliberative democracy can actually understand. Because I still think, and that's also what the handbook shows a bit, we have moved a lot. And this is not, let's say, where we were in the year 2000 when I started with deliberative democracy. So we are miles ahead, and sometimes practice is lagging a bit behind, and we need to close this gap.
Congratulations on your forthcoming science article, John. So can you tell us very briefly in our concluding remarks what this article is about?
So the title of the article is The Crisis of Democracy in the Science of Deliberation.
Okay.
So it's published in Science, which means it has to take a certain form. It has to be very scientific, and so that's the kind of language we're using. We hope that will appeal to the readership of science, and really it's a way of showing that we can speak. We do have not just empirical findings, which of course is what science is most interested in, but we also have plenty of sort of conceptual thinking about how to respond to the contemporary crisis of democracy. And I think to cut a long story short, there's plenty of empirical political science around which is very skeptical about the capacity of ordinary citizens in the context of democracy, be it in crisis or be it in more ordinary times. And so that comes across in, for example, the Aken and Bartel's book, Democracy for Realists, which has made a huge impact the last few years. Now, not all survey research is like that, but a lot of it is. But we're suggesting that one resource for a response to the contemporary crisis of democracy, one key resource is the deliberative capacity of ordinary citizens. Now, ordinary citizens can, as perhaps we know, be polarized, be subject to the appeals of demagogues and so forth. But there's also a much more positive story to be told if the conditions are right. And so that's really the story of empirical findings that we try to tell.
Thank you. On that note, thank you very much, John and André, for your contributions today. And so this is the end of our Book Drop series, Season 2, Episode 2. So see you next time for our next Book Drop series. Thank you.